right, welcome to the Humanized IT podcast, where today we are talking about frenemies. You can tell I have teen daughters, so you have this idea I was reading on LinkedIn. I think it was Kyle Christensen had an article over there about automation and customer service just being poor. And you get frustrated when you're on a call. Like, no one, I swear, no one spends more time on call. Maybe pharmacists. No one spends more time on call with call centers and tech support than tech support people do.
Yeah.
And so we sit there and we understand and feel the frustration of trying to navigate a call tree and then getting to an automated system or a bot. Or we go to a website, we try to get support, and you just talk to a bot. And it's because they're so understaffed that they need to have this extra support. Or some MBA thought it was going to be great. Hey, we could cut costs if we could just automate these conversations.
Yep. I was on a portal just last week, and I'm asking the little chat bot. I know what it is, and so I'm trying to be really specific. Not put in a bunch of other words, but put just a pointed question. And the chat bot, brings up some little article and says, "Here you go. Here's the answer to the solution. Anything else I can help with?" I'm like, no, that didn't answer the question. And so I ask again, and it recommends another one. And I'm like, no, that's not the responses were so out of sync with what I was looking for. And it was just aggravating. And I think that's the problem. Is automation is great until it's not great. And if it's not great, it's usually really bad. I mean, there's usually not a lot of middle ground with that. And when you're dealing with your clients, your customers, you don't want that really bad. I mean, you can manage the not so great. That's just kind of business sometimes, I think. But when it goes really bad, that's where you lose that trust and that value so quickly that it takes you weeks or months or, however many different cycles or transactions or whatever to regain. And you've got to be really careful about that needle flipping over to the bad, because it can do far more damage in less time than what you think you may be saving.
Yeah. And I was using the illustration with Skip before the call about sometimes when you're working on your house, you need a power drill. And you put your Phillips head screwdriver head in there, and you just crank on a screw. Like good wood screws going to studs. You just need to torque it down as fast as possible, and it is the perfect solution for that. Sometimes you're finishing up a project and you've got some outward-facing screws and like a wall outlet. You got to screw that in by hand. You got to grab a screwdriver and you got to slowly put it in. Because what happens is, if you've ever watched your kids work on a project with you, and they love picking up that power drill.
Oh yeah, they always.
And then they go in and they screw it, and they just it skips and it starts going across the wall. You got some more dings in the wall, or the screw itself flex off the paint. You know what? You got the job done quickly, but it looks like crap now. And that's what client conversations are. At least once a week, maybe once every other week. Skip, how often do we get asked, how do I automate these things in conversations?
Now, that is actually becoming, we've been getting so busy here of late. That's actually becoming a weekly. Sometimes I feel like it's daily. And, I'm not the confrontational type, right? And so I'm always trying to be, I know.
I will immediately call it out, like, stop right there.
I know. And that's what I'm trying to channel Adam, when I encounter those. And so I'm trying to say, talking to these people, I'm saying, no, you don't want to do that. Let me show you an option here, so that, or mostly it's changing the focus. I get what people are trying to do. And it's kind of in the theme of MSPs have been taught, right? So, whatever software platform you're using, to do the very valid and required operational stuff, all of those vendors have come out and, said, here's your report, here's your customer report, here's this, overview, whatever it is. And in effect, that has trained MSPs in general to think, oh, it's just a big lever I pull. I got to find somebody that's got a really cool lever. And we've got to shift that concept of, no, this is not a lever function. All right. This is a person function, but we can support it with a lever in the background. And that's the fine line that we have to find, so that your team has the support of all the automation tools that they need to do this quickly and effectively, so that you don't spend hours, prepping for all these engagements. But when it comes down to the very pointy end of all of it, you do need that personal engagement. You can't, we've talked about many, many times on the podcast, you can't automate a relationship.
Yeah. And that's what happens to a lot of people, is you try to automate these relationships and you wonder why they went south.
Yep.
And exactly the point. You're wondering why did you lose this customer? You have no idea. They just got mad one day. I don't understand. Yep. It's kind of like your spouse or your kids. They just got mad at you one day. Well, I don't know why. Dig into that. You should know why. The fact that you don't is an indicator that you are failing at the relationship. You are not paying attention to what is going on. And so you shouldn't say, I don't know why they're mad at me. Like, that means you're not paying attention to the relationship, and you got to figure that out.
Yep.
And
that's
so,
it exactly.
Yes, you may not be great at reading people, and that's okay. Not everybody is. We're all ignorant in our own ways, but you got to figure it out. And if you've disengaged yourself from a relationship to the point where you can't figure out why things are going good or bad, when we're in these demos and we're talking to these MSPs and they're like, okay, how do I automate? I want to automatically grab all of these answers. I just want to automatically know the baseline for the environment. Well, you're skipping the discovery step.
Yep.
So you're reading the Tinder profile of the person you're trying to date, and then you're talking at them. Like, all those things, when somebody tells a story to you about their trip to Colorado, you read on the Tinder profile, hey, I went to Colorado, had a great time, here's 3 pictures. Versus somebody telling you about their trip to Colorado and all the things you learn. You're like, oh, I went to Lake Mary. I loved that place. I went there. I went to Estes. That was fantastic. And you start relating there. You catch those and you ask questions and you get that, what I call incidental learning. So when you dive into somebody else's network and you're going like, oh, I need to figure out what are their PCs up to date. You walk on site and you're walking around to see if the PCs are up to date. And while you're walking around, you notice there's still some CRTs here.
Yeah.
And you're like,
they didn't show up on the scan.
Yeah. Why do you have CRTs here? Well, in this environment, we find that the LCDs tend to get damaged too easily, and the CRTs were a lot more robust, and we really like them here.
Yeah.
You just learned something. You created a relationship with somebody while you were on site. But we have so many MSPs, they're so overworked. They're like, I want to pull this out of my RMM, or I want to pull this out of an inventory analysis without ever going on site with the client. And I get that. I get wanting to be efficient. But you just missed out on an opportunity to talk to your client and build a relationship. Our surveys that we tell people to do take about 15 minutes. Like, you can generally walk around an office, answer all these questions, 15 to 30 minutes. And that's too much for a lot of MSPs. They're like, oh, I don't want to go on site. I want these answers automatic. Like, I get that. Yeah. Could we pull this in automatically? Yes, I could work with my devs and we could pull this out of ConnectWise or Autotask immediately. Yeah. But then we lose the humanized element. When I'm on site walking around with a cup of coffee, I'm finding things out about my clients. I learned that, Sally over here loves her dog. I'm learning that Aaron over here is having the worst time with printers. He just can't figure it out. It turns out there's a little problem there. And I walk over and I'm incidentally learning about these people that, oh, hey, look, Bob, he loves fishing too. He loves trout fishing. He fishes at Lake Ogallala. And we had that in common now. We just created that bond. This is from an hour-long visit, just walking around the office. And that is how you get sticky. And you learn about business processes. Like, Well, Bob here also is having a problem with, he wishes there was a way to automatically track his mileage while he's driving back and forth between clients. Like, well,
Yep.
why don't you just use and then name your favorite tool? You just
What?
won Bob over. He will be your advocate in every argument that happens on that site from now on. Bob's going to say, no, I know Skip.
Yes, and that is a very important element. I mean, it's a competitive market out there, and and someone is always willing to go at it and do it for 10% less than what you are. And if your clients are just looking at one automated process versus another automated process, why would they choose the more expensive one?
Yep.
And I think we really do need to step back and get realistic. I was talking with someone. It's been a couple of weeks now, I think, and we were talking about the business goals and how that's such an important part of what you need to be doing with your customers, understanding what they really need. And this person asked me, all right, so how do you pull that? How do you collect that data? And they were talking about a tool that, and I was a little taken aback at the question because they really thought that we had come up with some sort of, app or, scanner that would scan a client and print out a report defining their business goals, the challenges in their business. And I thought,
they're tier 5 activities, people. They cannot
really
be automated.
do you really think we could do that? The example that I throw out all the time is it's in our architecture assessment where we talk about their battery backup systems, and everybody's got their preference on that, and it's so varied. I've spent a lot of time in working on the technical side in backup power, so this is really kind of important to me. But we really consolidated that assessment, and the leading question there that we tackle is, do we have enough backup power to cover the critical business systems? Right? And the response to that is going to be so varied for each one of your clients that there's absolutely no way that you can automate that. And you've got to understand, because if you got this idea in your head that 20 minutes is all you need on a battery system, then that might fit, a segment of your clients. But what about those guys who have to run, virtually nonstop? Even if the lights are out in the office, the computers have to be up, and you're only providing 20 minutes of runtime, and you're telling them, hey, I've got you. You're all set. We've got your backups are all good. Your backup power is all good. And the lights go off, and these guys are going, crud, and they're working away, and all of a sudden the PCs just blank off. They're going to be really ticked. They're going to come back to you and say, hey, you told us that, we would be able to stay up, even if the power went out, and it didn't. And I lost data. We had a whole database got corrupted because we were closing the books, or, we were doing whatever. And that database went upside down, and we spent 4 days, having to reload stuff. They're ticked because you applied an automated boilerplate solution to a unique business, and you can't do that.
Yeah, and it's so much more than that. Like, when I flipped companies from 1500 to 9000 MRR, it wasn't because I automated the discovery. It's because I walked in there and I sat down and I had a conversation. And even the customer had the ideas of what they thought the problems were. They thought the problems were X, Y, and Z. But as I discussed with them, how does their day go? What are they doing every day? Like, hey, what, we can work on those printer issues or whatever it is that you think is a problem. I said, hey, can I meet with your teams and let's just talk through how does their day go? Did SWOT exercises with them. And I would get back information from these conversations that I didn't even think that was the direction we were going to go. And we started discovering projects. My engineer brain is never off. If you're an engineer, you know what I'm talking about. You're always trying to solve a problem. And sometimes your spouses have to say, I don't need a solution. I just need you to listen.
Yes.
Every engineer has
learned
heard
that one.
phrase
I learned that one a long
in their
time ago.
lives. because our brains are always going. So sitting in this meeting with five people talking to you about their day and they're venting their frustrations, and your brain is trying to solve the problem every time they bring one up. And that's
Yes.
why you have the notebook. You need to write down possible solutions. And you're sitting and you find out like, oh my gosh, this is running on 20 megs on their internet connection. That's not
Yes.
nearly enough. Writes it down, looks at the previous 15 vents. This would solve 15 of their problems.
Yep.
But from an automated discovery standpoint, you would find out that they doubled their internet last month.
Right.
They
All
went
good.
from 10 to 20, but you didn't actually figure it out. You didn't actually sit down and listen to them because your brain is going, oh, this sounds like a network congestion issue, but they just doubled their internet. Start thinking, well, what did you upgrade to? And like, oh yeah, we upgraded to 20. No, we're really great. Like, no. Stop this truck right now. And all of a sudden you map it back. Now, if you had stopped at the first solution you came to and said, oh, obviously it's this thing, and you fix that one issue up there, you would have never gotten down to the bottom after listening to their story of like, oh my gosh, this is a congestion issue at the top level and the mid level with their wireless access points. And I bring up this example all the time because it's the case study I did. You can get it from our website. Yep. And I have permission to talk about it. And it's just this idea that you can do more, but you gotta relate to your clients. There needs to be at least one person in your MSP who is in charge of talking to the client and building a relationship. Can you tell me what your client's favorite activity is? Do they have an annual like Christmas party they all look forward to? What about like your point of contact there? Can you tell me about them as a person? Can you tell me what they do at their job? Oh, they may be the chief controller there, but what are they actually doing? Like what are the big pain points? You know, maybe they talk to you and they're like, yeah, well, every morning I spend about 4 hours uploading my database out to our client database out so we can get financial data on and reconcile the new members. 4 hours? Why does it take you 4 hours to upload? And then you talk for a while and they're like, well, you know, it's a big database. And they show you, oh, can I see this database? Yeah. And they show it to you and you see it's like a 30 megabyte database.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Do you mind if I look into a few things here? And you start doing your engineering thing. Or you call in a network engineer. Like, somebody needs to look at this. There's something going on. And you eventually find a problem. But you discovered that because you sat down and listened to your point of contact. You learned about their day. And it starts off as you're just discovering this question of, do they need UPSs? So you went on site to do a survey. The whole point of going on site for a survey, people, is not to discover the assets. It's to create a relationship with your client. I'm looking right down the barrel of the camera here, people. I'm looking you right in the eye right now. I'm saying the point of going on site to do a survey is an excuse to get to your clients to build a relationship. You may be the driest, most boring person on the planet. Have you ever talked to a surgeon before?
Yeah.
They are like on spectrum, like calculating people, but they have worked hard to do a segue, a personal touch, a technical touch, and an exit. You can watch a surgeon when they come in. I spent this last 3 weeks at the hospital, and so I'm like, every time a surgeon would come in there, I would watch them go through this calculating like conversation, and it works. And then I would watch a nurse come in, and they're just all over the place. They're genuinely interested in you as a human being. But the surgeon is the other side. They want to get in there. They don't like their patients to talk. They're there to fix the problem and move on to the next one. And that's engineers. So if you're one of those engineers who just doesn't like to talk to people, you feel like you're bad at it, come up with a speaking style. Go and take a class on this. Yeah. But when you get on site, yes, you could look at your RMM. You could use a network scanner to get almost every piece of data you want out of these PCs. But the point is, you have an excuse to go on site and create a relationship. This is the difference between you charging $125 an hour and $500 an hour. Right. And I am not exaggerating there.
Yeah. And back to your example that you cited a couple of minutes ago, $1,500 to $9,000. I think too many MSPs are looking at their $1,500 a month customers trying to be more efficient, It's the saving dimes or making dollars dilemma. And so they're looking at that $1,500 a month customer going, well, if I automate this, or if I, can eliminate this engagement or whatever, and they're thinking I can make 50 more bucks a month, or 100 more bucks a month out of this one customer. But they're missing out on the opportunity to take that $1,500 a month contract and move it to the $9,000 category. So you really are, you've got to do both. I mean, I would love to just, be so black and white. And I know that's not real world, but that saving dimes mentality can cost you dollars if you're not careful. You've got to find the right place to do that. And our industry is, I don't know. I've spent most of my life in IT. I dabble in a lot of other things, but this is my day job, as I like to say. And it does seem like our industry is very focused on this impersonal connections. I saw this. There's such a poignant example in my past with Cisco, and we were talking with our Cisco reps at one time, and I forget the bigger context of what the conversation was about, but very, very successful Cisco rep. This wasn't just one-off guy. This is someone who was been with Cisco for a long time, doing really well. If you know anything about Cisco, they're a sales organization, if nothing else. They're not necessarily a technology company. They're a sales company, right? And this guy was just floored that we had personal relationships with our customers. He was like, wait, you see your customers outside of like an office visit or something? Yeah. And we're like, yeah, we run into them, at the grocery store, or our kids, play in, team sports or something, on the weekends or whatever. Yeah, we know our customers. And that was mind blowing for this particular person. Now, maybe it's just him, but it really does exemplify this idea within, I think, IT in general as an industry, that we're standoff, we're automated, we're completely digital. Everything is on a screen. And yes, we have those people that do the personal engagements, but that's not really part of what we do. That's just kind of this ancillary activity. And it can't be that way. If you want to really be successful, then you're going to have these personal engagements. If you want to just be automated, you need a job in a cubicle where you can just code all day long. That's the role for you. If you want to get in these other ones, you're going to have to get out, and to leverage our name, you're going to have to humanize your activities. There we go.
And that's the whole thing. I was just waiting for Skip to get there. He's going to get there. He's going to connect it. And it's you have to. That's the whole reason of our brand. You have to humanize your approach to customers. And so every time somebody in a demo asks me, like, okay, how do I automate gathering this information? Like, I die a little bit, and it's like, but also at the same time, I'm like, okay, so here's somebody who I can show them the difference. I can actually help them come to like an aha moment, a mountaintop experience where we realize that this is one thing you don't want to automate, people. Just like the screwdriver, you don't want to automate. You don't want to finish this out in an automated fashion. You want to take care of this. You want to actually have a human behind this. You want to go on site with your customers at least once a year to relate to them. As part of the QBR process, as part of the strategic process, it's part of the onboarding. You can't just automate everything. If you do automate everything, you're going to be in a low bid game. Instead, what you want to do is you want to show your client that you care about them and that you understand them. So when somebody comes in and tries to lowball, I'm like, nope, I know Bob. I know Skip. Yep. I'm working with them. I've been working with them for the past 30 years, 20 years, 10 years. And there's no way they'll ever move from me because you guys go out and get pints every Friday, whatever it is that is your thing. You guys do soccer together. It's something where you have a human connection. So that's where I want to talk to people. Like, automation is your frenemy. It's great. It's great for information. It's great for streamlining some things. In fact, a lot of things can be automated.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
However, the human relationship should not be. It is your enemy here. Your customers will get mad at you. You won't know why. These are all indicators of that you have over automated your client engagement. Instead, take our tool, take some tool, and walk in and learn about your customer and use it as an excuse to get in front of your customer. You need
Yep.
excuses to get in front of customers, especially those of you who are bad at human relationships. You need an excuse to be in the same room because most humans love talking to other people. They love relating to other people. You may not understand that, or you may be frustrated with it, but this is the way business is done. You are in a customer service oriented business, and you
Yep.
have to put that customer first. You have to relate. And if you don't have enough time, then maybe it's time to thin down your clients. Maybe you need to start increasing your prices
Sometimes.
so that you get the right clients that you can serve the best you can.
Yep. And, it doesn't all fall on one person's shoulders. I mean, this is a shared, your business and the service that you deliver to your clients is a team effort.
Yep.
And so, there may be people on your team that are more adept at that. Leverage them more heavily. And your more technical people who really like the screens. I mean, leverage what they do, but blend it all together so that your team can work off of everyone's strengths. But at the end of the day, the client gets the best of all of you and
Yes.
not just one element of you.
Yes. The best of all. You want a big picture.
That's
You
it.
want to have incidents where you actually are talking to your client. If you automate all of it, they won't know who you are. There's no difference between you and a script. They might as well move to the cheapest office. But if
That's
they
it.
like you, if they enjoy you, and you understand them and their needs, everybody's going to win. You're going to generate more revenue, and your clients are going to be stickier, and they're going to pay you more because they genuinely believe you are worth more.
Yep.
Thank you, Skip. This has been a wonderful conversation. It was a hot topic for me this week, and I just got to get it off my chest. Stop automating everything. Automate some things, but only automate the right things. Use it as a tool, not a solve all. Thanks,
Yep.
Skip. We'll see you next week.
All right.